Okay, find yourselves a comfortable place to sit. I'm going with Vajrasana today, but if you want to go cross-legged, go cross-legged. Just take 1 minute to kind of settle down. Leave the rest of the day behind. Find your breath. Find what's working in your body, what's not. Where is it aching, where it isn't. And just see if you can be good with whatever is, rather than wish and wait for something else. When you're ready, gently blink your eyes open, interlace your fingers, inhale all the way to the top. So today we'll do a little bit of a dynamic warm up. So keep taking it up. And then slowly release. So some of you have done this before. Right palm to right side. Inhale, take the left arm up and across. So just keep moving, reach your max. And then as you come out, go for the twist. So take your left arm behind, right palm outside left knee. Inhale, spine tall, exhale, twist. Reach your max. And then circle your arms around. Take your right palm all the way behind, left palm up, lift your hips up and back. So you're getting into a little bit of a back bend. Once you reach your max, release the other side, left palm down on left side, inhale, right arm up and across. Reach your max, go for the twist. So right arm behind, left palm outside, right knee, inhale, spine tall, exhale, twist. Get out and circle your arms around, left arm all the way behind, right arm circles back and up. Lift your hips, back bend. Slowly release. So one more time. Right palm down, left arm up, lateral. Release to twist, right palm outside left knee. Circle to back bend, right palm all the way behind, hips up and back. Release for the other side, left palm next to you, inhale, right arm up, lateral. Exhale to twist. Circle to back bend, left palm behind, right arm circles up and back. One last time, right palm next to you, left arm up and lateral. Try and move with your breath. Circle to twist, right palm outside left knee. See if you can go a little deeper. Circle to back bend, right palm all the way behind. Lift your hips, left arm up and back. Release. Left palm next to you. Inhale, right palm up and across, lateral. Circle to twist, left palm outside right knee. Circle to back bend, left palm behind you, right arm circles up and back. Lift your hips. And release. So sometimes you don't want to do a very regimented kind of warm up. So this is nice. It's smooth and flowing and it kind of just gets everything moving. When you're ready, find yourself standing right on top of your mat. So today is neutral poses. If you recall, last time we did beginner's version of externally rotated poses. So today we're going to do beginner's poses. And as always, because it's beginners, I'll go slow I'll explain the alignments, make sure you are on the page, give you variations, tell you what you could do, what you should avoid doing. So start with your feet hip width apart. Your heels are behind your second and third toes. You're finding a little bit of an internal rotation of the thighs of the hips. So if you remember, last time was all about external rotation of the thighs of the hips. So when you're standing neutral, not that you wanted very deep internal rotation, but you just want to feel a slight engagement of your thighs turning inwards. So outer edge of the thigh moving in. Push down equally into all four corners of your feet. Pick up your kneecaps. When you pick up your kneecaps, you should feel your quads and your hamstrings engaging. You pull them up even more, you should feel your calves engaging. Keep your tailbone down, pelvis level, spine tall. That's your standing tall. Some people call it mountain pose, some people just call it standing pose. Whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter. As long as you can push down equally into all four corners of your feet. So let's just do an Urdhva Hastasana, arms overhead. Inhale, circle your arms up, reach up. Now you find that beyond the point you can't reach up unless you push your feet into the mat even more. Once you push your weight in, you can reach up even more. So that's like playing off with gravity. It's like rooting down to rise even more. Generate that tension within yourself. Imagine you're holding a block between your palms, so you can't see it. Hold the block between your palms, push into the block. Now, when you push into the block, you'll feel your shoulders, your biceps and triceps engaging. So take that block, push into it, and then take it all the way up, but keep pushing into that block. Draw your navel in, reach the block even higher, and exhale, let it go. Okay, get your hands on your hips, find your hip points. So you know where your hip points are. Those are those bony things, the ends of your pelvis, as it were. Now, take your left leg all the way back, as far back as it can go. Maybe you don't bend your right knee. So you just take it as far back as you can without bending your right knee. Now, if you're like me, the heel comes in a little more. If you can, keep it parallel, but usually most people can't keep their feet parallel when they're far away from each other. So what you do is get the heel in so that your feet are at 45 degrees to each other. The right foot is pointing straight forward, the left foot is pointing 45 degrees. If you notice, I am not very particular about heel to heel alignment. It's not necessary. But why do I keep saying heel to heel alignment is you don't want your heel going behind your right foot like that. Because the minute you do this, you're opening out your hips, you become unbalanced. So it's okay if you have a little space between your feet. If you can go heel to heel, so now both my heels are on the same line, that's okay. If you want to keep a little space, keep a little space. You'll find yourself a lot more balanced. And the left toes are turning in. Now, hopefully you're still holding on to your hip points. Notice right now my hip points are turning towards the side of the mat. That happens because my foot is back, and if I'm tight at the pelvis, my pelvis keeps getting pulled to the side. So I've got to consciously push the left hip forward, right hip back. The minute I do that, this knee starts buckling in. So keep both the knees straight. Keep your spine tall. Now, if you can, push down into your left pinky toe, outer edge of your left foot, and then take your tailbone down and forward. Your hip points are facing forward. Just to remind you, Warrior 2, your hip points were facing to the side of the mat because you were externally rotating one thigh at the hip. This time there is no external rotation. Both your thighs are kind of neutral. This one not so much, but this one certainly is neutral. The knee that's bent is neutral. The back thigh is kind of neutral, and you're pushing. So you really, that's where the stretch for your hip flexor comes in. You're pushing your left hip forward. Keep taking your tailbone down and forward. Keep trying to make your back knee straight. So that's your foot setup for warrior one. Keep pushing into the outer edge of your left pinky toe. When you're ready, release your knee bend. Get your feet back to the top of the mat. See if you can keep your heels behind your second and third toes, push down equally into all four corners of your feet. Keep holding on to your hip points. We do the same thing to the other side. So take your right foot back. Now you keep it in the same straight line. Don't move it to the right, don't move it to the left. Just take it back. Keep your knees straight. Your heel will want to come in towards the center line, which is fine, because then your right foot points at 45 degrees to the vertical, which is great. Notice your right hip point. If you feel it's being pulled back, consciously push your right hip forward, left hip back. You'll start feeling it in your inner right thigh, maybe your hip flexor muscle. Wherever it is, push that right hip forward, left hip back, of course, to the extent, to the limit of your flexibility. But you need to work those muscles. It won't automatically come there. Left to themselves, they just kind of pop out there, because this is easy. This is where the muscles find themselves, comfortable. So you got to use your lower back muscles. You got to use your quadriceps to push it back into place. Then bend your front knee, push your tailbone down and forward as far as you can go. Keep pushing down into your right pinky toe. That's where the movement comes from. Push down more, you'll find that stretch in your inner right thigh increasing. Stay for a couple of breaths. Slowly straighten your knee. Get the foot all the way forward. Back to Tadasana. So that's your basic foot setup for warrior one. Now let's keep moving with warrior one and see what all we can do with warrior one. So once again, left leg back, knees straight, left heel in 45 degrees. Push your left hip forward, bend your right knee, push down into that left pinky toe to take your tailbone down and forward. This time try and go as deep as you can. Hip points facing forward. Back knee straight. Now just go for your arms over your head, and remember that block between your palms. Imagine that block between your palms, push it. This is your classic warrior one. Now, some of you might be feeling a little bit of compression in your lower back. If you're one of those whose tailbone points like way back and you end up looking like this, try and push your tailbone down without bending the back knee and taking your arms up. So you've got to really work those muscles in your pelvis. It's odd, but you'll get it there. So try and keep as tall a spine as you can. There will be a little bit of arching in your lower back, don't worry, but try and correct it and get your tailbone pointing down as far as possible. And then slowly release your palms to your hips, back foot all the way forward, stand with Tadasana. So your thighs are neutral into your pelvis. You're not externally rotating anything today. Once again, hang on to your hip points. Right foot all the way back, straight back. Right heel in a little bit, so your right toes are at 45. Push that right hip forward. Push down into the right pinky toe. And as you do that, bend your left knee. Take your tailbone down and forward. See if you can go a little deeper this time. In order to go deeper, you want to release your right pinky toe off the mat, but don't do it. Push that deeper into the mat. That gives you the root to rise principle that you can push your tailbone down further. Yes, you feel a bigger stretch in your right inner thigh, but that's the whole point. Keep that back knee straight. Inhale, take the arms all the way up. See if this side feels a little different. Keep taking your tailbone down and forward. Imagine the block of wood between your palms. Take that block up, push into the block. Don't hold your breath. See if you're getting into compression in your lower back. Point your tailbone down. Keep the back knee straight. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. Get the back foot all the way forward. From here, another favorite. Forward fold. So keep your palms on your hips. Push your elbows in towards each other. Gently point your tailbone back towards the wall behind, which means your pelvis is tipping forward. Can you see this? So right now my pelvis is neutral. Now my pelvis is tipping back. Tailbone is pointing forward. Now my tailbone back to neutral. Now my tailbone is pointing back. My pelvis is tipping forward. So the minute you do this, you set yourself up for a forward fold with a straight back. If you don't do this and you leave your tailbone pointing down or forward and then you go into a forward fold, you end up looking like this, which you really don't want to do because this is what you do all day. This is how you sit on your chair. So you want to do your forward fold with a straight back. So point your tailbone back. Pelvis is kind of tipping forward. You already get into the muscles to help your spine stay tall. Squeeze your elbows in and go for a forward fold halfway down, which means your torso is parallel to the floor. Now, if you notice, I'm trying to keep my back as straight as possible. So I've removed my arm so you can watch. If you're here, try and pull your navel in and extend your heart forward. The minute you pull your navel in and extend your heart forward, you might get into a flatter back. If you're here, you really need to squeeze your shoulder blades in. Same thing, take your heart forward, pull your navel in, gives you a flatter back. The reason I ask you to pull your elbows in towards each other is you automatically squeeze your shoulder blades in. Try and keep your chin up. Inhale, slowly come up. One more time. Tailbone neutral and then pointed back. Pelvis tipping forward, elbows in, fold forward. This time don't stop at horizontal. Reach your palms down, reach your palms behind your calves. Keep that flat back, which means pull the navel in, keep your chin up, keep that little tension between your shoulder blades, and then move it. Use your biceps to pull you in if you need to. And if you feel you're rounding your back, stop. So this is the max I can go without rounding my back. Stay here, stay with your breath. Feel the stretch in your hammies. Feel the stretch maybe in your calves, maybe in your glutes. Slowly, 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 slowly make your way up with a straight back. Roll your shoulders back, roll your shoulders forward. Hands back on your pelvis. This time when you go back, don't put your foot full down. Stay on the balls of your foot. So you're going to go into a high lunge. It's almost the same as Warrior One. It's just that your heel is off the mat. So take your left foot all the way back. Stay on the balls of your foot. Now place the heel down closer to the center line. So you're back to Warrior One. Left hip is opening. So push that left hip forward, right hip back. Spine tall, bend your right knee. Push down with your left pinky toe. Keep getting your tailbone down and forward as much as you can. Inhale, take your left arm up. So from a Warrior One, you can do a lot of things. So to start with, you can just do a nice little back bend where you kind of arching your back, you're stretching out your psoas, and you're getting a stretch on your shoulder. So take your left arm up, circle it back. So that kind of starts opening out your shoulder. Because you're circling it back, you notice you're getting into an arch in your back. Drop your fingertips somewhere behind your left knee. Look down at your left heel. Walk your fingertips down towards your left heel. But when you walk your fingertips down, you feel like getting your tailbone up because it's so much easier. But don't do the easy thing. Keep your tailbone moving down and forward. Walk your fingertips down. Keep that back knee straight. You don't want your back knee buckling in. You want it straight. Walk your fingertips down. Keep looking down. Few breaths here. See what's stretching. See what's strengthening. So your front leg is usually strengthening. Your back leg is stretching. Circle your left arm all the way up. Now, obviously, your left hip has opened out. So when you come back, and this is what's important with transitioning in yoga, you push your left hip forward, right hip back. So once again, you're back to your warrior one stance. When you're ready, get your back foot all the way forward. Hold your Tadasana. Now it's the turn of the the right foot. Go to the ball of your right foot. So right foot all the way back. Stay in the high lunge position. Drop the right heel down. Right foot 45 degrees, right pinky toe pushing into the mat. Right hip pushing forward, left hip pushing back. Bend your left knee. Get your tailbone down and forward. Your knee should be over your ankle and you should be just blocking out your toes with your knee. When you're ready, inhale, circle the left arm up. Circle it back. Keep the tailbone moving down and forward. Reach back. So, what I find people doing is taking the easy way out and just doing this. Reach back. Open that shoulder. The shoulder opening is as much a part of a back bend as the psoas, as the back. Drop your left fingertips behind your knee. Walk your fingertips down. Look down at your right heel. Keep your tailbone moving down and forward. 3. Stay with your breath. Back knee straight. Back pinky toe into the mat. Slowly circle your palm all the way back up. Back to your hip. Push that right hip forward, left hip back. So you've transitioned out of a pose, get back to a warrior one. Lift the right foot, get it all the way forward. Hang on here to your hip points. When you're ready, so another nice one with thigh neutral in the pelvis. Take your left knee up. So this is just a nice little balance. Now if you notice when your left knee comes up, your left hip also kind of rises. If you're like me, push that left hip down so your pelvis is level. You don't want your left hip or your left side of the pelvis rising up like this. So you want to kind of even it out. I know the balance gets a little trickier, but go with it. Hold it up there for as long as you can. Notice the thigh remains neutral in the pelvis and then mix it down. The other side. Transfer all your weight into your left foot. Pick up your right knee. So try and keep the thigh parallel to the floor. Right angle to the hip, at the knee, at the ankle. Now notice if your right hip is hiking up over your left, push it down. Makes you transfer your weight to the inner edge of your left foot. But at least you're aware that your pelvis is neutral and not the right side of the pelvis hiking up like this. When you're ready, slowly put it down. So it's a subtle change. Your thigh remains neutral in the pelvis, but the pelvis itself kind of tilts to accommodate your shifting center of gravity. Now, because your center of gravity has shifted, you've got to readjust your muscles, and this is where the work happens to keep your pelvis level. You don't need to, you can still hold your balance, but then you're not doing the work necessary to improve your posture going forward. Okay, once again, left foot all the way back to the balls of your foot, and then place the heel down. 45 degrees. Left hip forward. Same thing, take your left arm up, circle all the way back behind your left knee. Now I know we've not bent the right knee. Now do both. Bend your right knee and walk your fingertips down. So bend your right knee, walk your fingertips down. Obviously, you can reach further down. Now, a little additional fun. So this is, you're stretching out your psoas, you're stretching out your shoulder, you're walking your fingertips down, you're getting a deep little compression in your back. Inhale, take your right arm up and across. So you're also getting into a little bit of a lateral stretch on the right side. Now you want to get into a little balance. Instead of looking down at your right heel, your left heel, look up at your right thumb. So some people find even this really challenging. Some people don't even kind of notice. For me, I really have to focus and say, okay, I'm shifting my gaze from my heel to my thumb. And it takes a fair amount of control to do that. Just moving my head from down to up. When you're ready, slowly release. If you want, come through warrior one. Make sure your left hip is moving forward and back to base. Okay, same thing, other side. Right foot goes all the way back. Stay on the balls of your foot. Drop your heel down, 45 degrees. Keep pushing your right hip forward. Inhale, circle the right arm up. Keep both your knees straight. Circle right palm behind your right knee. When you're ready, bend your left knee. Walk your right fingertips down as much as you can. When you're ready, left arm circles up and back. You can decide if you want to shift your gaze from your right heel up to your left thumb. See what that does to your balance. Keep pushing your tailbone down. Right pinky toe into the mat. Feel the stretch on the left side of your torso. Feel the stretch in your right hip flexor. Slowly release. Come through warrior one. Push that right hip forward, left hip back, and back to neutral. Okay. Just to kind of contrast with what we did last time, external rotation, you're feeling the stretch with neutral poses. So if you need to kind of get out of that, all you need to do is an externally rotated pose. So there you go. Pick up your left knee, hold on to your left heel, push the heel into the groin, and foot against the thigh. Keep pushing the knee, the left knee towards the wall behind. Automatically, you've got a left thigh that's externally rotated at the hip. If you want, just stand here. You want to complete your tree pose, go ahead and complete your tree pose. So maybe palms together, palms away, holding an imaginary block. Take that block up. So feel the relief of externally rotating your left thigh at the hip after doing the series of neutral poses. Now through the day, you're always just doing neutral poses. Through the day, no one behaves like this. But this is where the beauty of yoga comes, that you do an externally rotated pose, which is odd. No one stands like this ever. But it kind of starts relieving the tensions you've built into your hip joint by doing this all day. So release. When you're ready, the other side, so push all your weight into your left foot, pick up your right knee, right heel in towards the groin, foot against the thigh, really press it in. Keep that right knee moving back. So you don't want your right knee folding forward because then you're almost getting to a neutral alignment. Now you know what neutral and externally rotated is. So tree pose is very definitely externally rotated. So keep that right knee moving back, left hip point moving back, spine tall. If you want, complete your tree. Keep pushing into that left foot. Once again, root to rise. The more you push into that left foot, the higher, the taller you can grow with your tree. Stay with your breath. When you're ready, slowly release. So hopefully you can see that you relieve the stress of a neutral pose with an externally rotated pose. Let's get back to neutral poses because that's the main topic today. When you're ready, stand tall, push all equally into all four corners of your feet. Take your left foot all the way back. So now we're just kind of playing with this. Put the heel down, 45 degrees with your left foot, left hip moving forward. Bend your right knee, take your tailbone down and forward. You've seen a back bend, you've seen a forward fold, holding neutral thigh in the hip pose. Now let's go for a little bit of a twist. In the back bend, you also did a little bit of lateral by reaching over back. Now let's just do a twist. So take your left palm, outside right knee, right palm floats back, outside left thigh. Inhale, spine tall, exhale, twist. As you twist, see if you can keep dropping your tailbone down and forward even more. Stay with your breath. Same principle about twists. Inhale, spine tall, exhale, twist. If you want, release your arms on either side. So your left arm is facing forward, right arm is going back. But keep your tailbone down. Now you're getting into your core. When you're ready, untwist to warrior one. Once again, keep that left hip moving forward, right hip moving back. And release. In fact, that's another point. When your left hip moves forward, it helps if you actively push your right hip back. So that kind of aligns the pelvis even quicker. And you get two ways of handling the same situation. Okay, when you're ready, right foot all the way back, drop your heel down, 45 degrees, right hip forward, left hip back, bend your left knee, get your tailbone down, push down with your right pinky toe, right palm outside left knee, left palm outside right thigh. Inhale, spine tall, exhale, twist. As you twist, keep getting your tailbone down. See if you're tempted to bend your back knee, don't. Keep it straight, keep it strong. Of course, I mean, if you can't help it and you need to bend it a bit, go ahead, bend it a bit. So you're getting all kinds of stretches, of course, with the twist. But also the hips feel different because your right hip is now forced to move forward. Your left hip is forced to move back. So it kind of feels good. If you want to release your arms, left arm moving forward, right arm moving back. Your shoulders are at 90 degrees to your hips. Reach through your fingertips. Stay with your breath. Try not to lean forward or lean back. Try and stay vertical. 3, 2, circle your arms to warrior one. And windmill back to the center. So you've seen you can use your warrior one for various things. One, it's just a strong enough pose in itself. You would notice this if you do Surya Namaskara, I think C, where you kind of come up to a warrior one and then go back into your vinyasa. Just the act of coming up into warrior one increases your heart rate. Anytime you are required to raise your arms above your head, your heart rate immediately starts going up because it's effortful. Anything that requires your arms over your head is effortful. So remember that. You think you want to kind of slow down your practice, even if the instructor asks you to take your arms up, don't. Leave it here. You'll find your practice gets gentler. It's easier to handle. Okay. Shall we take it down to the mat? So we start with, okay, I know I need to do or warrior 3. I'll do that a little later. So stay on your knees. This is thighs neutral in the hips. Take your left foot forward, walk it forward. So this might be easier than pushing your right knee back, so that you have as much distance between your left heel and your right knee as possible. So this is the max I can go. Of course, I mean keep your left knee over your left ankle. So I can increase the distance by doing this, but that's a totally different pose, Hanumanasana. You're not getting there right now. So keep your knee over your heel and keep moving your heel forward so that you increase the distance between your front heel and your back knee. Once again, you're in a neutral position. This is quite like warrior 1, except that you're down on one knee. And if your knee is sensitive, fold your mat so you've got additional cushion. Now, just the act of coming up to vertical and your palms are on your front knee, you're feeling the stretch on your hip flexor on the right. And once again, you can just do the same things. Take your right arm up and back, circle it back, reach back. You can release your left arm up, reach back. As long as the tailbone keeps moving down and forward, that's cool. Slowly release. And we change sides. So when you change sides, be slow and careful in your movements because these are deep stretches. So when you're down on your knees, it's a much deeper stretch than when you're standing. For one, you're closer to the earth, and two, you've got a lot more leverage to go. So once again, same thing. Get your right foot all the way forward. Keep your right knee over your right ankle. Increase the distance between your right heel and your left knee as much as you can. Keep pushing your tailbone down and forward. Both the thighs are neutral in the hips. Come up to vertical, so spine tall. This itself, you start feeling the stretch in your left hip flexor. Stay here a few breaths. If you feel like it, circle your left arm around, behind your left knee, walk it back. If you feel like it, release your right arm all the way up and back. If you want, turn your head up, look at your right thumb. But keep pushing your tailbone down and forward. When you're ready, slowly release. Sit back in Vajrasana or cross-legged, whatever works for you. So Vajrasana maintains the neutral thigh in the pelvis. Cross-legged, you're obviously immediately getting into externally rotated, and that's why cross-legged pose right now might feel so good. As you can see, I am continuing with Vajrasana because it's convenient. Okay, why not? Get into a child's pose. That too is neutral and it's extremely relaxing. It's a forward fold. Go for it. When you're ready, slowly come up. Come back to your knees. This time, keep your knees about hip distance apart. Keep your palms just behind just on top of your tailbone. So right on top of your hips, on your lower back rather. Squeeze the elbows in, push the hips out front. Take your heart up as much as you can. So we're moving into camel pose. If you want, tilt your chin up. If you find that dizzy, keep your chin stuck to your chest. Squeeze your shoulder blades in as much as you can. Push your hips forward, at least above your knees, if not beyond your knees. Take your heart up. Slowly use your breath. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, take your heart up. Think of taking your heart up rather than back. And slowly release. Back to Vajrasana. So if you can't do Vajrasana, of course, get into cross-legged. Stay with your breath. So after back bending, try not to do a forward fold, though it feels so good. Try and keep your spine neutral. Okay, let's try for a deeper camel's pose. If you think that last bit was just enough for you, just repeat what we did last time. You want to ease up on your camel's pose, tuck your toes under so your heels come up, they're easier to reach. If you're confident with your camel and you feel you've got the flexibility, keep your toes on the mat like that so your heels are a little further away. So once again, keep pushing your tailbone forward with your palms. Inhale, increase length of spine, heart moving up. If you can, release your palms, reach back for your heels, but keep pushing your hips forward. So initially to reach for the heels, the hips do move back. Once I've got the traction with my heels, keep pushing the hips forward, chin up. Or structure your chest, whatever works. Stay here with your breath. Inhale, spine tall. Exhale, heart moves up. Now, when you want to get out of this pose, release just one palm to your lower back. Gently help yourself up. Gently. So never try to release both palms and come up with a jerk. That's the worst thing you can do. Slowly sit back down in Vajrasana. And breathe. Once you feel the stress has gone away, release your feet from underneath of you. Keep your heels together, big toes together, and remove the flesh from underneath of you. Try and sit tall, so tilt your pelvis forward. The minute you allow your pelvis to tilt back, you end up looking like this, and then it's all downhill from there, because then you compensate this by getting your shoulders forward, and you can see the rounding in the back going on. So if right from the beginning you pick your hips up, you tilt your pelvis forward, so you point your tailbone back, tilt your pelvis forward. Remember what we did in the standing forward fold. Use the same principle. Point your tailbone back, tip your hips forward. And if this is too much, get a cushion, sit on the cushion. Now from here, because my lower back is moving in, it's easier to keep a tall spine. Keep your toes pointing up. Inhale, take your arms up next to your ears, reach up. So stick pose, keep reaching up. It's try and maintain an L. Try not to become something like this. So push your lower back in, keep your arms next to your ears, lift up, pull your toes back towards your head. Exhale, release your palms forward. Keep a straight back as far as possible. So I'm lengthening my lower back to avoid it rounding. Reach forward. Once again, neutral thighs and hips, but forward fold. Hold on to your big toes, or if you can't reach there, under your calves. Gently pull yourself in. Think of taking your chin up. Think of reaching your heart to your toes, not your knees. Because if you think of reaching your heart to your knees, you'll do this. Think of reaching your heart to your toes. Pull your toes back. Straight back. Inhale. Same thing. Spine tall. Exhale. Use your biceps. Pull yourselves in. Inhale, spine tall. Exhale, use your core to pull yourselves in. Chin up. Try and soften your gaze. It can get intense. It's a simple forward fold, but it can get intense if you do it mindfully. If you know where you're moving. Now when you release, come back to the stick pose, Dandasana. So inhale, take your arms all the way up. Try and get your flat back again. Reach up, hold that imaginary block, push into it. Stay with your breath here a few minutes or seconds. Pull your toes back, spread your toes maybe. And let it go. Okay. Let's stand up again, slowly. Take your time. We're going to move to Warrior 3. So for today, instead of moving to Warrior 3 from a Warrior 1, let's just take the easy way out. So stand somewhere in the middle of your mat and just watch. Before you do this, just watch. You'll start with taking one foot back, heel up, knee preferably straight. Inhale, take your arms up. Exhale, now I'm just going to tip from my hips. So the pelvis will just tip forward. The same thing that we did for the forward fold, you remember? Same thing, except that for the forward fold, the feet were together, tailbone pointing back, and I was just doing this. For this, one foot is back, tailbone points back, pelvis tilts forward, and as I fold forward, I lift the foot. Now, this side of my hip, the leg that's rising, so this is my left, should not be rising up, because the minute I do this, I'm relatively externally rotating my standing leg to the hip. I want to keep that hip point facing down, my heart reaching forward, energizing through my toes, either flexing my ankle or pointing with my toes, whatever works. And then, of course, arms next to your ears. If you don't want to complicate your life with your arms, you can keep your arms on your hips, your palms on your hips, to remind your left hip to keep moving down. So when you're ready, stand with both your feet on the mat. Let's start on the right side because obviously I'm a little tired on this side. So take your right foot back, hands on your hips. Point your tailbone back. Your pelvis is stepping forwards. Keep your spine tall. If you want to pull your elbows in towards each other, so you're already squeezing your shoulder blades. Tip forward from your pelvis. Start raising your right foot up. Keep your heart reaching forward, maybe chin up. Reach with your right toes or flex your right ankle. Try and keep the heel level with your hips. Now notice your right hip. If it's starting to hike up, adjust to get it down. Now you remember what we did last time about the knee up and the hip hiking up and you getting it down. That's the same set of muscles you need to keep the hip neutral. So use that, get into it. Well, it's not exactly the same set of muscles, but you know what you need to move to keep your hips level. Maybe keep your elbows in. Maybe if you want, take your arms next to your ears. Reach. Don't hold your breath. Warrior 3 can get intense. 3, 2. Now, when you're releasing, come back the same way. So hang on to your hips. Very slowly, come up tall. Drop your foot down behind you. And come back to neutral. Take a few deep breaths. When you're ready, take your left leg back, heel up, point your tailbone back, tilt your pelvis forward, elbows in towards each other, squeeze your shoulder blades, take your left foot up, start tilting at the pelvis, keep the hips neutral, so hip points both pointing down. Your left hip point doesn't start pointing to the ceiling. Reach through your toes or flex your ankle. Keep taking your heart forward, chin up, elbows in, or maybe arms next to your ears. Stay with your breath. 4, 3, 2, palms back to your hips. Whoops. Slowly find your way back. Okay. Tough day. So if you notice, I lost my balance there. No big deal. Happens to all of us. Just move on. If you want, when you're doing this practice on your own, keep a chair in front of you like this, and then move your hips back so there's a straight line between your wrist and your hips, and then take one foot up into Warrior 3, just to notice whether you're taking the hip up or keeping it down. The minute you take your hip up, you're externally rotating on the other leg, so it's easier, but it doesn't achieve the purpose of a neutral thigh in the hip. So you can do this later on your own. Hold the chair or maybe even the wall to give you that support, and notice if your hip is rising. If it is, you know you got to correct it by pushing it forward. So if you notice, the one thing that I keep repeating for neutral thigh in the hips is push one hip forward, one hip back. Keep them level. Right. Time to move back down onto the mat. I think you guys would love another balance, but let's do that after we do the Cobra. So get your palms under your shoulders, lie down on your stomach. Keep your feet about hip distance apart. Relax your toes on the mat. Lift one foot, reach your toes back. Lift the other foot, reach the toes back. So you're lengthening your spine. Push the mat forward with your palms. Fingers are spread. Index fingers parallel. Just keep rising your heart as much as you can. Shoulders away from the ears. This is probably one of the most neutral. Everything is neutral. So don't hold your breath. Slowly release. Once more, inhale, come up. See if you're tightening up your glutes in your effort to come up. Try and release the pressure on your glutes. Take it in your palms. Push the palms forward as much as you can. So keep releasing the glutes. Come up to Cobra, full Cobra if you can. There's no need to jerk your chin up. Keep your neck neutral. It's just a neutral extension of the spine. See if you're taking the stress into your shoulders by doing this. Release the shoulders away from the ears. Stay with your breath. 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly all the way back down. One last Cobra. This time release your palms, interlace your fingers behind you. Either keep your elbows bent or straight. Start taking your palms up. Inhale, see if you can use that to lift your heart up. Stay with your breath. Push all 10 toes into the mat. In fact, that's the thing that comes up, and it becomes even tougher. So if you push your toes into the mat, you find that root to rise, however little it is, to come up even more. Don't hold your breath. Stay with a calm breath. 3, 2, 1. Slowly release. Palm over palm. Just stay in crocodile for a bit. And when you're ready, slowly come up through your knees to standing, because I know you guys love balances. So this one, we'll do a fun one. We'll do a simple neutral thigh in the hip balance and then move it to an externally rotated pose. So it's kind of fun to do that when you're just standing, because it challenges everything, and it's a very good way to close this whole thing on externally rotated poses and neutral poses. So you kind of learn the difference between the two physically, and you're challenging yourself. And of course, if you find it just too challenging, pick an easier option. So let's start with the easier option. So just watch. One knee up and just hold, and then take the knee to the side and just hold. Okay? The more difficult option is knee up and hold. So everything's neutral. Now if you notice, this hip is hiking up, so try and push it back down. And then to the side. And back down. Shall we start? So you decide either it's knee or bent knee or straight knee. When you're ready, bend your knee. Hold on to your big toe. Straighten your knee if you want to. Push your left hip down, out to the side. Back to the front. You want to show off, release your palms. Ankle flexed. Bend your knee and release. Okay, thankfully you only got two sides. Go ahead. Knees up. Right here itself, can you push that hip down? So no point in hiking up that hip. I'm exaggerating here, but keep it down. Hang on to your toes if you're extending. Couple of breaths here. Keep that hip moving down. Keep your right hip moving down. And then externally rotate it. So this one is externally rotating. If you notice, this one remains neutral. The toes remain pointing forward. Just to show you, when I get this down, my feet are perpendicular to one another. So this one is the one that's externally rotating. When you're ready, get it forward. If you want, release. 3, 2, 1, bend. And let it go. Okay. Time for the best neutral pose, which is your Shavasana. So just a word, in Shavasana, obviously if you're just doing classic Shavasana, everything is neutral. Sometimes, some people like to do a butterfly with their Shavasana, which is basically soles of the feet together and let the knees drop down. And some people just love doing this with the Shavasana, which is fine. But this is basically your body telling you, I've done enough neutral poses. I need to do an externally rotated pose, even in my Shavasana. So choose whether you're doing a neutral Shavasana or an externally rotated Shavasana and enjoy. I'll just go with the externally rotated one because, well, I guess I'm a little fed up with neutral poses today. Get into your breath. See if you can distance yourself from your day, from your thoughts. When you're ready, bend your knees in, get your knees together. If you're like me, pull your knees in towards your chest, give yourself a nice little squeeze, gently rock from side to side. Roll over to your right, turn your face down, blink your eyes open, come up to seated. So that last balance that you did, you might have felt it odd to go from neutral to externally rotated. That's probably because we didn't warm up enough with neutrally rotated, with externally rotated poses. We did a couple in the middle, but maybe it wasn't enough to get you warmed up to do that. So that's another key feature in yoga, that you start slow, you keep warming up, and you keep practicing with the basic poses. Make sure you're getting those right until you move for the really heavy duty ones, which involve a lot more focus, a lot more attention, but equally a lot more flexibility and strength. So if you jump to the more difficult poses right at the beginning, you're setting yourself up for either injury or failure, both of which you don't want. Same lesson in life. You want to achieve big things, start out small, keep building your base, keep building until you feel confident to reach that big goal that you have in mind. Namaste Yogis, as always, lovely practicing with you. See you hopefully on Tuesday if my work schedule doesn't get in the way. So obviously I'll be messaging you. Thank you.